So I'm continuing with a topic of the strengths, and there's 5 of them. I can't tell you all of them. Nelly's told you a few of them. Today I'm going to be talking about the strength of Samadhi. And there's no easy translation for Samadhi. It's often used, the Pali word is very similar to the Sanskrit word, but I'm going to look at it today as the capacity to collect yourself in the face of a storm. So the capacity to collect yourself in the face of the storm. It also can mean simply concentration or unification of mind or an altered state, but just keeping in mind this way we're going to look at how do we collect ourselves in the face of the multiple storms that we're living in right now. So in reflective meditation, our practice really is to develop samadhi by being kind and gentle and curious with your experience, with what you encounter, the storms you encounter in your meditation practice. Whatever comes up, you're really just trying to be with it in a kinder, gentler, softer way. And because of that, samadhi often develops unbidden or in surprising ways or barely noticeable ways. You might not even notice some of these states of pleasure or calm or settledness that come in the meditation until you reflect upon them after the meditation. So this direction of starting with a very receptive way to develop samadhi rather than a very guided, intense, do this to develop pleasure, do that to develop equanimity, do this to develop the next thing, is that there's a wide variety of the way samadhi can affect people. And it's very idiosyncratic. And also some of these states can be quite riveting. Like you can have strange appearances in your meditation practice, visuals or sounds might sound that normally irritate you, might sound really pleasurable or neutral. The samadhi doesn't always make sense in the moment. It can make a little bit more sense afterwards, or when you reflect upon it, or you can see, oh, that really didn't tell me much. It just really showed me more that my mind was getting concentrated. That picture of an apple that just popped up in the middle of my thinking about my to-do list. So where I see this as a strength, samadhi, is that we carry the samadhi from our meditation practice into our life. Like, how does that really become relevant when we face the storms of our life? Because we're facing all sorts of dukkha, all sorts of stress and upset. But being able to collect yourself in the face of that is a sign of resilience. It's a sign that you can handle a little bit more, or that you're not going to collapse or totally be scattered when something challenging arises. So I feel like it's also the other way I see samadhi in my life and other people's life is that you have the capacity to feel deeply with the sorrow and the suffering that you experience yourself and that you see others experience, but you don't lose your intentions. You don't lose yourself so much within that, being able to feel and take that in. Another way in life that I see it as a strength is that you're able to get some deep rest in the midst of the storms, that really you can start to feel safe enough to really gentle down and fall asleep and then wake up to the continuing process of your life. And the other place that I see samadhi as a strength is that we can find pleasure and fascination within the way the world works, the natural world, the way the human body works, in medicine and artistry, in science, that we can actually feel the miracles of the sunset or of waking up each morning and not knowing why we are waking up, and the existential questions that often give us deep satisfaction and pleasure to contemplate. So as I see it, after being sick for 2 weeks, and I'm not yet not sick, I see Samadhi can really be a medicine. It's how I'm kind of looking at right now, a medicine for stress and suffering, because it has these properties of mind altering, kind of like mind altering medications that you take. But it really is gentler. As I said, kind of mild. Sometimes you don't even notice you took a dose. And in most cases, it's safer than drugs. But meditation itself is not completely safe. We've talked about this many times. Things can happen beyond your knowing or intentions that can, wake you up to something you hadn't expected. So I would say that by taking this kind of meditation, samadhi, kind of as a medicine, it really opens a door for transformation, for dukkha, because it starts to alter your entrenched narratives. It can really start to make things that don't make sense come in and make some sense. Open the door to something that just is a broken record, kind of take it off track. But it is best when mixed with awareness. So on the Eightfold Path, what makes Samadhi ethical is the fact that it's paired with awareness, that we can reflect upon it, that we can think about it, we can really temper some of our fantasies and illusions and delusions that come with some of the maybe more intensive samadhi states, that we really have, this is kind of an insurance for us not to get so entranced with our samadhi. So the ways it's worked for me with this virus is I had just come back from a retreat and got sick on the way home and went into kind of altered states. It was not COVID, but it was something that didn't want to let me go. And with it, I kind of brought back the retreat in a kind of dreamlike way. And I knew that many in our Sangha were dealing with health issues. And also, one of the things that came up on retreat was that there were a handful of people that had had childhood illnesses, where they weren't able to go out and interact with the world. They were isolated alone in their rooms. And this narrative really helped me. It was like, oh, well, maybe my older age, I'm going to have periods of time where I'm more isolated and can't go out and play, because I missed a lot of play from this 2 weeks. It was my anniversary and also the 4th of July, and there were I had a lot of plans that didn't happen. But that narrative, that softening that narrative and bringing it back from the retreat really helped me through the virus. And also, I had some very deep and restful states that I think that long-term meditation practice really allows me, and allowed me to kind of help the healing process. It didn't speed it up, but it just helped me to go through the healing process. I'm already at 10 minutes. Well, the last one was I was able to teach on Saturday. I have one in-person group here once a month, and there's no way to cancel it. So I was like, even if I'm in a wheelchair, I'm going. But I was able to walk and drive and get there. And I taught as if almost I wasn't me teaching. There was a way that the kind of samadhi came in, and I was able to be with people and talk and teach the Dharma. And the minute the class was over, the state broke. I couldn't listen to anybody. I was like, I gotta go back to bed. But it kind of just carried me far enough. And that's what I want to say about samadhi is sometimes the state will break and you'll find yourself irritable or back in kind of the dukkha world or something, kind of more ordinary or annoyance. And that's one way you can tell that there was some samadhi going on, some samadhi carrying you. So there are many storms right now, literally and figuratively. When have you been able to kind of collect yourself, and how in some of these storms? And if you haven't been able to, have you been able to be a little kinder, a little gentler, a little softer, more curious about what you're encountering? Okay, very nice to see you all. Happy that